Welcome back to our Fast Track series with Fabian Robinson. This is Part 2, Episode 3, Skills. Hope you enjoyed Part 1, the foundation. So, by now, your dog should have his foundation and skills in place to take him tracking. He has a clear understanding of scent discrimination. He has a backup skill for lose your turn. He knows how to follow pure source through change of direction. He has started on methodical footsteps and can take a turn methodically with food in every footstep. By now, he should be addicted to tracking. He can indicate articles and understand the motivated stimulation that pops on the collar means get to work while keeping a happy attitude. In this episode, we will cover integrating skills into your track and how to test your dog and why. The skills we will work on are hunting, methodical behavior, take your turn, punch your turn, articles, and restarts. We will be extending your tracks to develop stamina. We will be removing food daily, and we are going to clarify the have to on articles as well as work on restarts off of articles. We are going to show full tracks as Cy progresses with recaps at the end of each track by Fabian. This would be a good time to have notebooks ready to take notes if needed. In this next series, we want you to feel as if you're walking each track with us. The last track is Cy tracking 100 paces without food at 4 months old. That's right, I said 4 months old. Join us on this amazing journey.
Okay, so when you're starting the process of the dog restarting off of an article, right away it's a very hard process for them in the beginning because right away they don't know how to restart off of an article and go forward. Okay, so and if they do, it's a reaction. That means they're going to lunge forward. So you don't want to teach them to lunge forward off of once you restart off an article. You want to make sure they learn to also track down then out. So the way we start this process is that we have some food in our hand, okay? And as soon as we tell them to go forward again, which is popping the line forward, as soon as they go to forward, we toss some food down in between their legs, in behind them, and let them get that food. Because if you don't start off that process first where they learn that behavior and you start putting food down first, you're gonna have to, because the first reaction they're gonna do when you put food down in between their legs when they're laying down is to go for the food. Okay, so you're gonna have a fight there with them right away, and then now because you have to have a fight with them, you can discourage them for wanting to go forward. Okay, so get them going forward first. Get them in the process of just because what happens as soon as you put the food there, they're not going to realize the food there. You pull them back to it almost like it's your straight again. That the lines that you made, you're pulling them back to that food, letting them know when you restart off of a down that you have to restart and get the food underneath you, and then go forward. So once they develop that habit, then you can work on the other behavior, which is having your hand down on the ground with the food, okay, and clarifying that you can't touch it. So if they touch it, give them a little tap on the nose. Don't say anything to them. Clarify, don't touch this. In the beginning stages, keep your hand there until you pop the line, then move your hand. Okay, so they can't touch the food. And once they're clear that they can't touch the food under your hand, then clarify you can't touch the food when my hand moves away until I pop the line, I'll tell you the command. Okay, then it makes it easy for the dog to identify that behavior, what you want. Other than that, it's just going to be a fight with them all the time, and you're going to get very discouraged because they're always going to eat the food, and they're not going to know their job. Okay, so today you see us again advancing. All right, today was a very long hunt, and today we went actually 10 paces today without food in it. And we vary it between 2 to 5 to 7 to 10. So, and as you can see, the whole entire straight leg here in the beginning is just a complete hunt. Okay, because now we really want the dog and the puppy to really learn how to track. All right, so we want to clarify a nice hunting behavior so they hunt for the food, not just find the food. Okay, so as you see this one leg here, we've done that, but again, because we're teaching the dog to hunt, food is coming up right away, and the dog is actually having to hunt for the food, the methodical behavior that we want to develop and keep consistent will go away if we don't keep up with it because it's not 100% habit yet. So while we're advancing, we're also keeping the methodical behavior tight. So this is where we use take your turns. Okay, so we're using methodical on all the turns now. So now we start breaking up all the different skills in one track now. This first leg here is a hunt, and we're looking to take up food more and more each day. So the next track that he does is probably going to have 15 paces with no food. The next track 20 paces, and then 25 paces, and 30 paces. It goes that quickly, okay? But as we're doing that, we have to remember we want to still keep the methodical behavior strong. So as we get here, we end this leg here, which is called the hunt track, with an article. So we end our hunt track and clarifying, okay, we're going to start another skill now. Now this next skill is going to be methodical, but we're going to use that methodical to also advance another skill as well. So we're not just going to allow them to eat food off the ground without creating another behavior. This behavior now is about take your turn. So we want the puppy to learn, or the dog to learn, to be methodical around the turns. Okay, so you see in this leg, in this particular
skill, I have a lot of turns back to back. So it's just going into methodical turns, into methodical turns, into methodical turns all the way around. So that's another skill. We end that skill with an article. Then we move on to the next skill. The next skill now is articles. So we want now again, we saw today I was a little bit more firm with the articles. Now it's a have to. Now you must lay down and submit to the article. It's a job now. There will be a consequence if you don't. Okay? Because he understands what the rules are, he's willing to follow the rules and accept payment for following the rules, he's obligated to it. So now we start this article process here, where food in every footstep to the article, food in every footstep. We're also using the methodical here as well to keep that methodical behavior up to the article. But as you see at the end here, again, I'm always looking to push the envelope a little bit to see how talented the puppy is, how talented the dog is, or where they are in tracking and what they understand and what they're willing to endure. So as I got to the last food methodical article, I did a leg of maybe I think about 8 paces with no food at all to an article. And you see at the end, I call that a little test. Okay, so I gave him a little test and he aced it. And he went right to the article and he submitted to it. Okay, so that's what we're looking to do. We're always looking to advance. We're always looking to take the opportunity to advance. So this track was one track with 4 or 5 different skills in it. Okay, so that's what we're looking to do now. And so each time we do a hunt, we're going to advance the hunt. Each time we do take your turn, we're going to put more and more and more turns. Okay, then after that, we're going to teach you how to hunt a turn. Okay, hunt a turn means that there's not food in every footstep around the turn. That means, but what we're looking for the dog to do is we're looking for the dog to go around that turn like there's food in every footstep. That's called hunting a turn. But we have to first teach them how to take the turn. Okay, and that's what that behavior is about. As they can get around that turn and follow the footsteps around, changing direction consistently, they develop the habit of it. Then once that happens, we have to take that process out and say, okay, now it's time to hunt your turn. Okay, by then the methodical behavior should be very strong and consistent. And that's where we start doing advancement. So you see, each time we bring this puppy out, there's always an advancement step. We never stay the same. It's always an advancement to move on to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. And that's what tracking is all about, advancement. almost nailed that test. Okay, so again today we started out with a hunt. Okay, we started pushing the hunts further and further and further just on straights right now. We're not going to add turns to the hunts just yet until the puppies or dogs learn to be able to take a turn, and then we'll start adding turns to the hunts. So this was a long hunt, and today we pushed the puppy 15 paces today without food. You see it stayed methodical throughout, and our job is to make sure that behavior stays pretty clear in their brain and consistent. That's why you see me work the line a little bit to try to keep that nose on those footsteps all the time to get that methodical behavior consistently, whether there's food there or not. So that's the key, is to make sure it's consistent whether there's food there or not. So in the beginning stages I do a lot of direction to clarify that's where I want their nose to go methodically into every footstep, direct source. So and then we end the hunt with an article again, and then we start a new skill, which is going to be to take your turns. So this is food in every footstep, and also going back to methodical behavior. So, like I said, when you start taking up food, you have to understand that the methodical behavior is also going to get weaker. So you don't want that to happen. So you also have to keep up with the methodical behavior by keeping those footsteps with food in it consistently until they develop a stronger habit of a methodical behavior. So we're taking the methodical behavior and putting on the turns now. So now we put in a bunch of turns for the puppy to learn how to take a turn methodically, and then we end that one with an article. And then we move on to articles. Okay, so you see today I pushed the puppy 10 paces at the end to an article, and he got a little confused and then almost second guessed himself and wanted to turn around. I stopped him and made him finish off. But that's the whole point of pushing and testing boundaries and making sure you keep advancing. You have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing so the puppy gets to learn to be consistent on source. So that was a perfect example today of where the puppy came up, he was doing really well for a little while, and all of a sudden he got almost to the article, but then he second guessed himself and he went to turn around, and I clarified, keep going, and he got success. Okay, so that was a learning curve. So each time that I do this, I put a little test in there from the very beginning with the dogs. I don't wait until they do tracking 100% before they do tests. Okay, you can start testing them immediately. So that was a test today. So on to another test, and so on and so on. Okay, because again, this is about the puppy or the dog learning to track direct source without food. Food is a manipulator to create behaviors. It's not the job. The job is to track direct source. That's the end game. So that's what we want to practice the most of and clarify. That's the job that we want them to be professionals at and experts at. Make sure every footstep, so focus on what you're doing. Every footstep matters.
So can I be a little closer to him?
Yeah. There's a little distance. The left one is 5. That's why you can fall apart on it. Shorter hands.
Okay.
Okay, you have to direct him to every footstep, Gina. Okay. Don't let him direct you. He needs help here. See how hard that one? I'm pushing him. Okay, he went 25 paces today with no
Yeah,
food.
that was awesome.
Now this one here is going to be a methodical and a hunt turns. Make sure when you pick up the arc you put it away so it's not in your hand. You need your hands. So this is methodical, then you're going to go into a hunt turn, then a methodical turn, and a hunt turn. You see he's stepping the game up now. You take that hunt turn nice?
Yep.
You don't have to reward him so much on these articles, because you reward him a lot on the last one. Let me settle and wait for that command. There we go.
Okay, I got it now. I got it. Thank you. It's okay that he's a smart
That's
boy.
fine. You go up to you get here and you throw food at the article. Beautiful. See how fast that gets?
Yeah.
Can you give me the right information?
A hunt.
Yep, it's a hunt. There's two of these in here. Find some food in this one.
Yeah.
Nice. Before you put food down, let him show you the behavior.
I'm not gonna put the food down.
No, I said before you put food down for the
Oh,
article, let him show
okay.
you the behavior that he's found the article for you. prepared, so you have to be. That's what you prepare. Don't take it for granted that he's going to do this every time for you. If he doesn't drop on that article that you know he knows it now, correct him for it. And he has one straight run here. No food on this. Wait, when you're ready. Pull him back to the food. There you go, that's how you do it. There's no food here.
Yeah, but he didn't step for step.
Exactly. This is 20 paces.
Without?
Yeah.
This is the test.
Nice. Very good.
This the end?
Yep. Awesome.
Wow, dude, that was super. Silly.
See, each day the pushing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the least.
Film him.
The least amount for him for the hunts now is no more than 5 paces in between food. And right now the most amount is 25 paces without food. So anywhere in between 5 to 25 paces is where we're at with him.
Good job.
Okay. All right. So now we have where we're expanding the hunt and making it more realistic on the actual job of tracking. Now the dog has to actually track. So now the least amount of food in between footsteps is between 5 to 25 paces. So meaning that now he's not going to find any food less than 5 paces at a time, or 25 paces, or in between that. So it could be 5 paces, it could be 10 paces, it could be 15 paces, it could be 25 paces without food. And he gets 1 piece of food at a time. So he has to really hunt for this piece of food. So this leg was really strong, really hard for them in the beginning stages, because now they're really actually hunting and tracking direct source consistently without finding food. So in the beginning stages, they're going to stress and worry a little bit if they're right or wrong, but you encourage the behavior by having that have to in place. And once they know that they can follow this source and follow direct source with a methodical behavior, they will eventually find what they're looking for. Okay, so now when we started after this straight run here, as you can see, we ended this hunt, this hunt with a turn. So that turn also is also a hunt. It didn't have food in every footstep around. Okay, so, and he aced it pretty well. So he hunted around the turn and he came to the article. So that ended the hunt. So now, instead of having food methodically in every footstep around turns now, what we're doing with them is we're having him do one turn where it's called take your turn with food in every footstep. The other one is hunt your turn. So we have a take your turn and your hunt your turn. Okay, so we want them to, the behavior we're looking for is we're looking for them to hunt the turn the exact same way that they would take a turn if there's food in every footstep. And then today you see his test. He went 25 paces today with a test to an article and he aced it. So that's what I mean, advancement, advancement, advancement all the time. You want to get them off of the concept of food and get them on the concept of direct source, which is disturbance of the ground. Well, the sun's not going to be in for a while now. There's no food, there's a footstep. Put them in the footstep and try.
You went 30 paces?
Keep going. in the beginning more addicted to the scent than articles. That's why you see him overshoot it a little bit and want to go past it, because he's into the scent now. So he's not thinking about articles now. Now that you have that piece in place, be prepared to put some food down for him again. This time when he's settled and he puts his nose down, get some food down there for him. It doesn't have to be right underneath him, just get it down by his nose and then you get it. So as soon as his nose connects to the ground, put some food. So food should be already in hand. Perfect.
Every time?
No, just so often. It's really just that behavior back if you see started losing it a little bit. Well, just saying, you gotta be serious now. If he overshoots that article, it's a have to.
I meant for that first correction to be as hard as that last one.
Yeah.
I just didn't get it there. Up a ways.
why those hafters are important. Make sure he identifies it for you. Don't
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. As soon as his nose touches that article, down. Okay, this is going to be a straight run of 30 paces without food. An article. So you have to help him through it. So you can drop some food down for him here. Soup.
Is this the end?
Yep.
Oh my good boy. Is there food for him?
Okay, today another day of advancement. Today we started with no food in the beginning stages. We had to go up at least 5 paces to 7 paces to find food just from the hunt. Okay, and we'll start doing that often with them. We won't put food in the start all the time for them because we want them to identify source much more than food. We want to start eliminating the food scent and getting them more addicted to the source scent, which is the crushed vegetation. Okay, so as you see now, we're really stretching this puppy out very early on in his career because we're looking for advancement and get for the dogs and the puppies to get almost addicted to source. Like I said, source is the key, not food. So we want to get them away from food as much as possible because the more you keep them on food, the more percentage that source is food. So the further you keep food away from them and identify them more with source, that will become more of the percentage of what they're looking for or hunting for. So now today the puppy went in between 5 to 7 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 paces today without food in between. Okay, and we really stretched them today. Still on the we're putting the methodicals on the turns now to teach him how to take a turn. He's doing very well with that. And also in a few of those we had them hunt a turn. And we also added a turn, a hunt a turn to the hunt itself. So it's no longer a straight, it's a straight into a hunt. Okay, so they have to hunt a turn and then find an article. Okay, and then you see at the end, the puppy went and we did that test track for him where it's 30 paces to an article. Each time we do that, we're gonna stretch a test out. So everything is subject to be tested to see where the puppy's at. And if we're pushing too far or we're not pushing enough. So we did that 30 paces today, that test very easily. So we know tomorrow we're gonna push it further and keep everything going advancement. Okay, I'm predicting probably within 2 to 3 weeks from now, this puppy's gonna be able to go 50, 60, 100 paces with no food in it. And this is just a puppy. So that's how fast this happens when it's done with the right training and the right information to the dogs in training.
The test don't lie. That's one of the reasons why they have to be tested, because training lies. Because what you're doing in training, when you take your dog tracking and you have to help them through a problem in tracking, and you say, okay, he was successful. Well, he really wasn't successful. You had to help him. Okay, so you know there's a fault there because he didn't do it on his own. Okay, you had to either restart him or help him find the track again or hold him close to the track so he found it again. But any involvement you make in when you take your dog tracking that's a teaching phase still. Okay, so if you have to still stay in this teaching phase, that means he failed a test. Okay, so say if you ask the teachers for help in a test situation and they have to help you, that means you failed if they have to help you because you didn't do it on your own. You didn't get full credit for that because they helped you through it. Okay, so that's what when you're training your dog and you actually have to help them and go back into the teaching phase. So in the middle of a test, say you're testing that day, and you had to intervene because your dog couldn't figure out the behavior to do to make that successful for them. And now also you got to understand, a test is also about the skills that you teach them. They don't have to be perfect. So if they do lose a turn, they're going to take the point loss, but as long as you don't have to involve yourself and help them, and they use their skill that you taught them, they pass the test. Okay, just because they overshot a turn doesn't mean they failed the test. But if you intervene, that you had to actually step in and help them find that turn again, they failed the test because they didn't do it on their own. So these are the things that we want to make sure that when we're giving tests, that anytime that you have to intervene, you call that a failed test. They failed that test that day, okay? If they had to work at the test and they were successful without your help, they were successful in their test. They lost the points, but they were still successful in passing the test, okay? But if you have to intervene, that means if you intervene, they couldn't pass the test. You had to help them find that turn or find the track again or do the behavior they're supposed to do to stay on source. That means that without your help, you're not sure how they would have done.
Right.
Okay?
So some people get really upset because their dog isn't perfect every day.
Yeah, the reality of it is not, that's what the tests and all these things are for, is to see where your faults are. They're not going to be perfect. Okay? And if you try to train for perfect, you're going to mess your dog's head up. Okay? The dogs are only going to be as perfect as their skills. So the more you work on their skills and the more you allow them to work on their homework and make their skills strong and consistent and reliable, the better they're going to be on being successful. And the end of the day is you're looking for a successful tracking dog. That will automatically turn your dog into a V tracking dog when they're consistently successful. Because the more successful they are, the better they're going to be in the long run. Okay, so being perfect is not what you're looking for in the beginning. What you're looking for is your dog to understand its job, and the more they understand the job, the more perfect they're going to end up. That's what creates a dog being perfect at something, is that they're being consistent on doing it correctly. The more consistent they are doing correctly, the better they're going to be at their job, and the better they're going to be at their job, the more consistent they're going to be at being successful at their job.
Right, and you want the truth to be. You want to know the truth of your training.
Yes, you want to always make sure you know the truth. Don't go trial day where it's the main test and you have the multiple choice answers and you're guessing. Okay, because that's when you're going to fail. If you should know the answer. Your dog should know the answer when it comes up to that problem. It should know the answer. And the reality of it, if you allowed your dog to study, he would know the answer.
Going to go into some methodical turns. This is actually the hunt into another article.
So.
Start bridging those two pieces together by saying suka and the pop at the same time every so often. Again, the word by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Closer with your hand. Slide it down a little closer. When you're popping way out here, he doesn't get the right direction where to go. You gotta go and put it right into the ground. Okay. He goes.
Where does it go? Oh.
These are a bunch of methodical turns now, and then a couple of hunt turns in between them. So this one, add the soup with the pop at the same time. Just mix them up every so often.
Soup.
Good. So you can bridge the pieces. When you see he's having trouble just moving off the word, you need to bridge it back again and go back and forth with it so you can bridge the pieces together.
Okay.
He's really developed a nice methodical behavior, by the way.
It's all methodical.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of hunts in there. You'll know when it comes to a hunt.
Okay.
Very clear hunts. You see now what we're doing? We're switching up how the trap is. Stay in the same time. Today, earlier, he did the testicles.
Just like that.
These are probably some hunts.
Where did it go? I can't see.
Okay, going straight to the right. Beautiful.
Super job, bud.
Now, so this is all methodical. Just enough struggle. Put a half two into place to push him.
Nice. Good job, Chad. This is where it's so important to have a plan.
What?
To have a plan of what your the purpose. Monster puppy track. Monster puppy track. Look at his tail going. Is this the end?
Yeah. That's awesome. something else to do because it's too easy for me.
Shut up.
It's just way too easy.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so today, again, advancement. All right, again, longer hunt today, in between, again, 5 to 45 paces today in between footsteps. So this is a long stretch of hunt, and there was a test involved in this hunt. We always want to test to make sure we're on the right track. If we don't test, we don't know. We don't ever want to guess. We want to make sure that we're moving forward, and the only way to know consistency and dependability is to test them. So as he passed through this hunt, and he goes to the test, and then all the skills start. We started with the skills. Today we switched up a little bit with the articles first. Normally articles are at the end, but today we put articles before the methodical turns. And then we put some hunt turns involved with that. Then we ended it differently this time. We ended it with a methodical straight into a turn, into an article. So everything is always subject to change. So we don't ever want to develop consistent habit on how tracking works. Tracking doesn't have any consistency of habit on how the track is laid or what pieces what pieces start and finish. So we want to always switch it up. Sometimes we might start with an article track, sometimes we may start with a hunt track, sometimes we may start with a turn track. Everything is always different. We switch it up all the time to make sure that we're always guessing when they come out here. One thing always stays the same is the job. When I tell you souk, you put your nose on the ground and you go footstep to footstep to footstep to footstep until you find an article, and then you submit to it. Those rules never change. Everything, how the track is laid, is always changed. You always want to mix it up. Make sure that the dog comes out here and it's never kind of have it formed on they're just going to go down a straight line all the time and find food. Sometimes they're going to run into some obstacles. Sometimes they're going to run into an article right away. Sometimes they're going to run into some turns right away. Sometimes they're going to just go straight for a long period of time and have no turns to an article. So it's always mixed up all the time. So again, advancement, advancement, advancement. Okay, so this puppy today, the test was 45 paces with a turn to an article and aced it. And that's what we're looking for. So now we know we can advance and move on. Tomorrow's test probably be 50 to 55 paces with no food to a turn and an article. It was 100.
It was really to 100. He made you do 100? Wow.
Okay, so today, again, a little bit of the same, a long hunt. Today we're, again, back to pushing. We pushed the puppy today. He actually went 100 paces today without food. So each time we're pushing to see the limitations and how far that this puppy's willing to go without finding food, and keep creating that hunt alive all the time, making it more and more, expanding the hunt more and more each time, so the puppy gets more adapting to smelling direct source versus food. We want the puppy or the dog to really get addicted to the source versus the food. Okay, in the beginning stages, when you have food down, they're really not tracking source, they're tracking food scent. All right, so now we have to reverse that process. We want, in the beginning stages of tracking, we start them with probably 80% food source and probably 20% of the actual crushed vegetation source, the actual real source. So now we're reversing that to get 80% of real source and 20% of the food source. So we're taking a big change in percentages. So again, at the end of the day, dogs have to learn to track source, not food. They have to learn to hunt source and get away from the addiction of food. Food is a manipulator to create behaviors. It's not how you teach a dog to actually track. It's just a manipulator to create the behavior of tracking. Okay, so again, we pushed the puppy 100 paces today, and you can see a couple of times the puppy stopped because this is wear and tear on them as well. So they're not sure of themselves when they go past their limitations of finding something. They second guess themselves. So they start submitting. They say, okay, maybe I should stop here because maybe I'm going too far. So that way we can give them a little pop, the have to encouragement, and then they realize, oh no, there's more. So they continue. That's very important. Letting them know that they cannot quit until they find an article. So they have to be consistent and following source. And this is normal for them to kind of not give up, but actually overthink it and wonder if they're correct or not. Because again, you're pushing them past the limitation each time. And when they're not finding something often, it makes them second guess themselves. So you saw today he stopped and laid down by himself, but we didn't sit there and harp on it. We just said, get your butt going again, and he moved on. He started tracking again. That's normal, and that's going to happen. So you have to be clear of that and let them know that the have to is consistent until they find an article. All right. So now today it's very hot out here. Today it's probably like 90 degrees. Probably about 20 minutes ago, it just poured rain onto the track. So we actually let the track settle a little bit with the rainfall. So after the rain, and then it started getting really hot. And it's very windy out here. But it doesn't matter. Weather has no bearing on a dog that can track direct source. The only time weather will bother a dog in tracking is if you taught them to track overall source. Direct source never moves. Overall source moves. And that's the key to consistently having that clear understanding and that dependability of them being able to stay on source is by teaching them how to track direct source.